Cut.
Rest in peace, Bob Uecker, man. Definitely one of my favorite characters from Major League. You all know that I am diehard Jobu, Sorrento's buddy here, and Bob Uecker, 90 years of age, rest in peace. So we're getting ready for the Dan Selio show today, and let me get the sound on.
God, what the hell is that?
Yeah,
what about it? I smell musk. What's that? Musk.
Well, I set up.
I mean, come on, man. Come on.
I get set up
you
here.
and your wife. You're a beautiful
they're having
wife,
fun
the mother
in
of your
Philadelphia.
children.
We of course
roll around with something.
Let me
and
say
by the way,
hello
the
to
physical
Lady
nature,
Libra.
Come on, Tom.
Game Day
Come
Brian
on, Tom.
is here.
Hey, I would appreciate it more if you're rolling around with another chick. But another
it's a little bit easier to handle. Right. I mean,
hey, it was a chick. All right, okay. Hey, look, I can swing that way if you want to go there. I'm good. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get to
that. She's not remarrying that dude, is she?
Yeah, no, she's got a little bump there too now, man. And Brady's looking at that going, wow, that worked quick. Hey, so wait a minute. She's pregnant now.
Okay.
And after week 1, when they're divorced, she's knocked up. Come on, Jackson. When you were doing that triple sow cow and he was showing her that move, you know what happened, man.
Come on, Tom. Tom's got to get that alpha back. Come on, Tom. Get that alpha back, Tom.
Dude, he lost his man card a little bit with me there on that.
Yeah,
let's get these supers, Xander.
All right. Simp. Sills is the simp. That's right.
Yeah, he's the simp.
Steven, we need an RPO guy. Trade Nick for Steichen. I'm actually with Silly on this. He gets quarterback killed. I'm not good with it. I don't want it.
Every quarterback he's worked in that RPO has been banged. Look at Anthony. Not Anthony Rich. You and me were right about Anthony Richardson.
Logan Motorshort. How about them Kellen Moore Cowboys?
At Florida. You thought that was going to improve in the pros. It
please, Lord.
But Steichen's got that guy killed every play.
No, they're interviewing him.
I think Shane gets his quarterbacks banged up. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, come on. Better call Maul. I like the name. Rams stacked the box and their linebackers and safeties covered like the Packers did. Could be trouble for our birds. Correct me if I'm wrong. Love the show. Love you too, bro. Thanks, man.
I don't. Hey,
you're like me yesterday. You're really not in on this Rams team. You don't see it at all. You will be genuinely surprised if they win the game, the Rams.
Yes. Dude, the quarterback and the coach give him a puncher's chance. And I said it. I'll say it again, and nothing will change. I think the Rams have to overachieve and the Eagles have to underachieve and flop around for at least 2 quarters for them to have a fourth quarter game. Rams have to do everything in their power. They got to play with the lead. They got to get into the fourth. And if you do that, anybody can win that ball game. And maybe it does come down to special teams. I don't know. I want to see how they're going to hold. Dude, 317 yards in a football game on the ground, and you got beat up like that, you're going to have to show me that you're going to man up for something like that.
Yeah.
And Xander, if you put up 37 points and you ran the ball for 100 yards, I would say the Rams have a tremendous chance. 300 yards rushing? I'm sorry. I'm not buying it, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. Good point. No Limit. What's up, No Limit? I never knew the Lions got $70 million in cap space. They don't have $70 million.
They got a ton of money. I'll tell you.
They got a lot more money than we do.
I'll tell you who else does. The Washington Commanders have a
with the left hand up
$70 million themselves.
I think the Commanders have the most.
And they got 7 picks coming up. They got a ton of money, man. Remember something about that Detroit team, Xander?
Who's got the most cap space?
Hey, Xander,
New England has the most cap space. Vegas and Washington has 96 million.
Yep, I knew it was about
Detroit has 70 million. That is Detroit.
And you know why? Look at how many guys are on first-year deals.
Right. Minnesota has 77 million.
Right.
How much do the Eagles have?
I think they're
not too bad.
20?
19th. They got 30 million.
Yeah, okay.
And that cap number is going to go up.
18%.
Yeah.
Maybe more because of gambling. Maybe more. It might hit 265, 270.
The underdog actually asked a good question here. He says, Dan and Xander, if some team cracks a code on limiting Barkley to 53 yards, what happens?
Then you're in a game.
I think we're in. I think we lose. I think
if
we lose.
you hold Barkley to 60 yards rushing or less,
yeah, but has that happened? Like,
no.
bro, we're no. What you're banking on seeing something we've never fucking seen. Nobody's been able to stop our offensive line yet. I'm supposed to believe the fucking.
How many? Hey, Xander, tell the truth. Last week, I think the guy had 130 yards. It felt like he had 14 yards, and I'm like, he had 135 yards rushing. I'm like looking at him like Emmett now. This guy had 20 some odd carries on 135 yards rushing. That would it didn't seem like he didn't really like it was. You're like, I don't know. And then you went, whoa,
right?
135 looks common now for him.
No doubt. All right, here we go. Another super chat. Philly Don checks in. What's up, Philly Don? Philly Don won our Legends giveaway this morning. So congrats on your jersey, brother.
Congrats, let's go, man.
He says, why can't they at least let an OC be able to work with their quarterback during the offseason, especially new ones? Do they not allow that?
Yeah, they allow that. What are you talking? That's why they have OTAs and that's why they have mini camps to work with when it came to being the preseason. Remember when he said all this brand new? Okay. I don't like it. Well, he was right in the end. This is brand new.
Entering the studio.
Right?
Yeah, it is. No doubt. All right, a couple more here, and then we'll get to Mark Holmes. One more.
Oh, great.
G Fish, just put Frank in for stability. Done deal.
I don't know if it's easy like that.
I do think you'd get the Vic Fangio feel with Frank.
You are behind
his head coaching days are probably.
I get that.
As we get ready
you might get that a little bit
more continuity.
I think it's an interesting dynamic though, because Nick used to work for Frank. Now you're going to have Frank come back and work for Nick. I don't know.
That works, but that goes a lot. That happens a lot because these head coaches and
it's not a forever gig.
It's interchangeable right now. Well, guess what? Yesterday we had that dynamic. Jim Harbaugh worked for Mark Trestman as a quarterback coach, and now Mark works for Jim Harbaugh as an assistant coach in Los Angeles with the Chargers. That happens a lot more than you think.
So BMO corrects me, which I appreciate. Cleveland held Saquon to 47, and he had two other games under 67. Okay. What was their record in those games? Well, there you go. There's the answer to Underdog's question. Underdog asked what would happen.
If you rush for 60 yards, you're still gaining $1,000. See, to me, when you're holding somebody to 47, that's holding them down. Okay, that's holding them down. But when you do 70 yards rushing, you're still about 1,100 yards rusher for that season. Remember, it's not like most people are looking at a 100-yard game, guys. Well, if you're doing 100 yards, you're talking about a 1,900-yard rusher.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's not going to happen here, too.
Philly Don just followed up real quick. I meant before all camps when they're not allowed to have any contact. I don't
know what the CBA says about that because it's very restrictive in what you can do with non-football when you're not together. I know they all get together. Brady used to get together all the time too. We're going to get to Mark Holmes here in a minute.
Yeah. Anyway, we try and steal Lincoln Riley if Kellen
Moore leaves. Stop that, Lincoln Riley.
He's making so much money. Yeah. No,
I'm not interested in that at all.
Mikey shreds. Nick's works for Howie. So would Frank. Come on. Well,
Frank loves the Eagles. He does.
Yeah. All right, brother. I'll let you run, man. Enjoy the segment. Looking forward to hearing from Mark Holmes and seeing what he's thinking about their coaching search, man. They might be coming for Kellen or coming for Dion.
Well, I'm gonna lay it out before we bring Mark up here. So Xander, great stuff, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sills. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody in the chat.
All right, hit the like button. I want to before I bring Mark up, I'm going to set it up here for all of his viewers now that are coming in here. So I had a conversation this morning with Stephen Jones.
Oh.
I want to make it clear. Tomorrow, Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones, and Todd Williams, the director of operations of the Cowboys, will have a Zoom conference call with Kellen Moore. It'll be tomorrow afternoon. I don't know if Charlotte is going to be involved in this, and I don't know if Jerry Jones Jr. is going to be involved, and I don't believe Todd's going to be talking very much. But here's my conversation. I asked him about Kellen Moore's time in Dallas and how that whole exit happened. Well, Mark is going to get he'll now get what we've been talking about for an hour and a half. I now know what all in meant. It had nothing to do with personnel. It had everything to do with Mike McCarthy getting his full shot being a play caller as the Dallas Cowboys. That's what he meant by all in. He politicianed, and he went to Jerry and said, if I'm going to go down, I want to at least go down being the play caller of my team. So he politicked to be that guy. Now, Jerry and Steven, they love Kellen. And what I was told was that, look what Kellen did this year. He adapted. They knew the quarterback doesn't have the same skill set of a lot of passers do. And what did they do? They ran the football. And he took the offensive skill set people and he adapted more so than any time in Dallas that he ever adapted. And to the point of this, you got to remember, Howie Roseman got lucky this year, Mark Holmes, before I bring you on. He got lucky.
Saquon.
And I'll tell you why. He did not build this team in the image of its true self right now. Both wide receivers are 35 and 25 million. Quarterback's 50, and the tight end is 15. You don't do that to pay the least star-studded player in the huddle $9 million and make him the centerpiece. Okay? Moore took that. And you know what he did at the bye? Jalen had 38 attempts in that Green Bay game. After that, they never had more than 31 attempts, and they went on a 10-game win streak.
Some of those games in the mid-20s.
You got to remember something. Last year, that same Packer team beat the doorknobs off the Cowboys. And they had an 11-point win this past weekend. Now, I think if he continues to win, he'll be an even stronger candidate to be the head football coach. And here's the most important thing on why Moore could fit in Dallas. He listens. Okay? He listens like he listens in Philadelphia. You got to remember something here. I'll say it one last thing before I get Mark on here. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with the current structure the way you are, no matter who the coach is.
Thank you.
It's just not going to matter. Okay? Personally, Dak's got to get the fuck out of Dallas. If he wants to be able to have something on his resume, Prescott's playing for money now. He's not playing for resume. He's not playing for legacy. If Dak Prescott stays in Dallas, he's not playing for legacy. He's playing for money. No matter how good he is. Doesn't matter. Now, a lot of news. I first want to get to our friend Mark Holmes here. By the way, Mark, I appreciate you coming aboard, man. Thank you so much. Let me start first with you on this. The exiting of Mike McCarthy. Give me your sense of what you think, again, and how that whole thing was handled before we move on to the other candidates and the other things here. I mean, and what I just said and how I laid it out. We're going to get to that here in a second, obviously, talking to Steven today. First, let's go with Mike McCarthy being fired. Was what to you?
To me was, we don't really want you, but we want to try and keep a good face. So we're going to make you an offer that you can refuse or that you will refuse. And it sounded like it was going to be basically a one-year deal with a one-year option. And quite frankly, after just going through the season that he did where every week was, you don't have a contract, why the hell would I go through and do that again? That's just madness. Nobody would do that. And quite frankly, I'm glad that he kind of said, you know what? I'm okay. I've got other offers or other opportunities. To me, in my mind, you pointed out the structure of the Dallas Cowboys. I look back in the last 5 years and ask, what major move did the Cowboys do to try and make this a better team for Mike McCarthy? Other than the draft. There is
Nothing.
not a single move. The biggest move they made was moving on from Amari Cooper. So you look at this and say, through the course of the last 30 years, the best period we had was 3 seasons of 12-5 and in the playoffs. You never had more than back-to-back playoffs. And in fact, I believe you only had 6 12-win seasons. It might only be 5, and he had 3 of them. So it's not that he wasn't able to coach. I think he was actually hamstrung by the Joneses. How can you expect to succeed when you are the least spending team in free agency since 2016. You just can't win. And you're getting hamstrung by Jerry Jones every single time. You said the perfect thing. It does not matter who comes in here if the power structure stays the same. It doesn't matter.
Here, Mark. Let me go now into what I talked to Stephen about earlier today. They're going to have a Zoom conference call tomorrow, and Todd Williams is going to be in the room along with Stephen and with Jerry, obviously dominated by Jerry. They have a really great love for Kellen. They like the guy a lot. They think a lot of him. He had 2 number 1 offenses when he was in Dallas. He showed one thing. I think he grew this year as a coordinator. I'll tell you why. He figured out the skill set of the quarterback, and he knew the quarterback wasn't good enough to throw the football in the air. And what did he do? He adapted to running the football because he saw it. I mean, think about it, Mark, what I just said. There's not a chance in hell the Eagles are happy with the way that thing has turned out. They're going with it because you know why? They're 15-3. You're not going to upset that right now. But the way they put the team together, that's not what they wanted it to look like. So that's where they think that he has grown as a coordinator, is because he looked at the skill set. I mean, Jalen Hurts had 2,900 yards. Yep. They're 15-3. You know, the quarterback doesn't just get the credit for winning. The coordinator's number one job is to win ball games, not to make the quarterback look good.
Yep.
I mean, he made the quarterback look good in Dallas, and it didn't result in any postseason winning. He's making it now, and now they're in the divisional round with a great shot to get to the NFC Championship game.
Here's what I'm going to say to you. Okay, now let's be realistic here. When I've looked at the Eagles over the course of the last several years, who's had a better offensive line?
The Eagles.
Who's had the better running game?
The Eagles.
Who has had the better wide receiving core?
No doubt.
Okay.
The point, but Mark, wait.
Hold on.
But last year, they fought that with Brian Johnson and wanted to jam that peg in that square peg in a round hole. And they knew last year they had all those numbers. They had the best O-line, the quarterback. Get this. Both receivers got extensions. And they were 1-6 down the stretch.
I agree.
This year, this coordinator went like this. Fuck that. We're going to run the ball.
Which was winning football. But not only do you need, but here's the problem is right now we are scapegoating Mike McCarthy. Now as he's going out the door, we're saying, oh, well, him and Dak Prescott didn't get along. And it's like, what the hell is that? They hung out at Mike McCarthy's house in Pittsburgh and all his stomping grounds. Dak Prescott went to, that's the Joneses trying to sugarcoat it and act like that.
How in the world would anybody in Dallas look at Mike McCarthy as a scapegoat when everyone knows what Troy Aikman said? There's no fucking plan in Dallas.
Exactly. And the Cowboys don't like to do their homework. They literally had dinner with Mike McCarthy, and Jerry Jones Jr. said, I think we got our coach. And that was basically it. The bigger question I'm going to ask to you is, did you find out if Will McClay was going to be part of that call? Because his contract is up April after the draft.
I obviously wanted to know who was going to be in the building there and in the conversation. Obviously, it's going to be Stephen. And Stephen didn't go too much into the into what the power structure is going to be on that conference call here, but I'm assuming that contract is yet to be determined on what they're going to do with him yet. I still think, because I think that's got a lot to do with who they hired, Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh completely cleaned house when he got that head football coaching job, right?
Yeah.
And, Will Clay, just for some of you out there, Will Clay's he's the director of player personnel for the Cowboys there. And if he's going to be in the room there, he's kind of like the original Bob Ackles when Bob was there with Jimmy and they were bringing all those people in when it came to free agency. I think the reason why they haven't done his contract now Because if you do, you notice one thing too. Bill Belichick hasn't signed his contract at UNC.
I thought we were going to get into all of the different details.
Yeah, we are. We are,
yeah.
but Belichick hasn't signed his contract yet at UNC.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is kind of why he's left that out there hanging there, where that if there's still something out there for him, that UNC is his fallback. And that's why he's been slow playing, building that offensive and defensive coaching staff, because I think he's been slow playing it.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, right now it seems like, the Cowboys, I think, thought Mike McCarthy was basically going to be, please, sir, I'll take anything. And that he was going to come back and he was going to be the lapdog. We were going to get him dirt cheap. And I think it surprised them. So that's where all of a sudden, you heard, Dion. Let's call Dion up so that way we can look like we're not flat-footed and kind of steal a little bit of that playoff thunder. So that way we've got some noise going on. As far as Dion goes, I feel like Dion, in the same way you're talking about Bill Belichick, he's kind of keeping his options open here. Alleged, and I could be wrong, but his contract is on the table there at Colorado, and you certainly don't want to say, sure, Jerry, I'll go ahead and go to it. If you're going to go to the Cowboys, you want to go with a position of power when they're desperate to get you, so that way you can have more say. So he's playing for the best deal, I think, right there, both ways.
Here's some names to keep an eye on for Will Clay's job. Remember, you got to work with the Joneses when you're talking personnel.
That's the big problem.
And somebody like who's been recommended and worked with Parcells and worked with Belichick is Scott Pioli. That's a guy you look at potentially that can go in there, can identify talent. John Dorsey's kind of a wildcat guy because, remember, John Dorsey's the guy that found Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
He found Patrick Mahomes. He also built that Cleveland Browns roster. It had nothing to do with the Deshaun Watson deal. That was more Andrew Berry had a lot to do with that, along with Haslam. So to me, Dorsey, if you can take him, he really knows personnel. He's a really great personnel guy. So Pioli, Dorsey, I wouldn't be shocked if Joe Douglas got some conversation. Now, again, Joe Douglas look at the people he brought into New York. The problem that you have in New York was he whiffed on the quarterback. I mean, the draft, he whiffed on Rodgers, but he didn't whiff on the personnel that he built with the team. He can identify personnel, but they whiffed at the quarterback position. So those three guys, I think, especially Pioli, if it ever got to a point where they were talking to Belichick, Pioli would work. I think, if I'm not mistaken,
that'd be a match made in heaven.
I think Scott Pioli, if I'm not, I think that's Parcells' son-in-law. If I'm not mistaken. I think, I think that's his son-in-law. And so take a look at what they got going on right now, Mark, in Houston. Nick Caserio was in that coaching and then that personnel tree up in New England with Scott Pioli. And there's no coincidence why the talent has fallen off in New England. It's now gone to Houston. I mean, Pioli now runs the personnel department down in Houston now. Right. And that's why that has turned around with the Texans. Is because he's brought that ideology down there, what they were doing all them years, down to Houston. Right. So let me go back here. What about Robert Saleh? Do you think
here's what I thought about Robert Saleh when they first said we want to talk to him? I'm thinking actually defensive coordinator.
Yes.
That was my first, when everybody said, oh, the Cowboys want to interview him, but nobody said, was it for head coach?
Now, with that being said, that is the coordinator, did that match up better with Kellen then? Instead of having Kellen hire the coordinator, the Joneses hire the coordinator.
They do that anyway.
Pretty much like they did in Philly by hiring Vic.
Right.
And you have him as the play calling head football coach.
Exactly. And that's what the Joneses do. You don't get a chance to bring in who you want to. When Mike McCarthy came here, we've got our offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. That's the guy you're going to work with. So I could see Robert Saleh being the new defensive coordinator because, as much as people say he's ass as a head coach, and maybe he is, that defense last year was still, when he was there, was still one of the top defenses in the NFL. He left and it went to shit. So we definitely need help on the defensive side. I believe that Mike Zimmer is the backup plan just in case to be
I
the
thought
head
he was
coach.
talking retirement.
He was talking retirement, but he also said everything's on the table.
Okay.
I think if Jerry Jones came to him and said, "You're my guy. I need you to be the coach here," and stuff. And I'll tell you how that would work. For whatever reason, everybody is all in love with Jason Witten to be the heir apparent. If it doesn't work out to get Kellen Moore, I believe Jason Witten somehow, some way is going to be part of this organization, be it a receivers coach, a tight ends coach, or maybe even the offensive coordinator to start coaching him up a la like Jason Garrett. So when you think of if they do bring in Robert Saleh, you bring in Jason Witten, and you have Mike Zimmer as the head coach for a year or two, and you look at replacing with Jason Witten.
How about this? How much say does Dak have? You got a $60 million a year guy in the building in here, man. I would think that you would have some. How about this? Not
You would
say,
think
at least some input on what you're looking for, because again, I mean, I said this before. Coordinators are like finding a wife. Hey, man, just because it looks good doesn't mean it's going to work.
Yeah.
You've got to find people that are going to work together here and are going to be compatible. Hey, give me a heads up here. Was the relationship with Kellen Moore and Dak a good one?
I think they got along actually really well. I was actually when Kellen Moore first became the offensive coordinator, I was kind of like, how are you going to have? Let's say I'm in high school, I'm a junior. I take the starting position from you. How are you now going to be my coach? You know what I'm saying? But that dynamic seemed to work. The thing with Kellen Moore that always would drive me crazy is it would seem like when it got to crunch time in the playoffs, that the things that we would do really, really well, 12 personnel, moving the pocket and things, hurry up offense, would just get forgotten in the playoffs. During the regular season, you'd get, of course, a few trick plays that only tricked us, but for the most part, he wasn't bad except when you got to the big games.
Can I say this to you about that? I'm going to disagree a little bit here. I think he had more restrictions in Dallas than he does in Philly. I think he had to go along with more of a game plan on what they wanted the team to look like, and he had to follow more in the guardrails in Dallas on what and how the game plan was.
Everybody does.
In Philadelphia, because you know what he did in Philadelphia? He went against the way Howie Roseman built the team. You can't do that in Dallas.
Yeah.
So when you say, what happened to this? What happened to that? How do you know the influence from the Joneses on the game plan and what they wanted it to look like? Was it more of an impact? Because they meddle in everything. Whereas here, this is why people are going like this. Kellen's offense, you're 15-3. You're moving on to the divisional round with a great chance to go to the NFC title game. And this guy now, he went against everything the front office in Philadelphia built.
Yeah.
Okay? Went against completely everything. You can't do that in Dallas.
Well, here's how you know you're screwed, okay? When your buddy, Stephen Jones, signed CeeDee Lamb, he literally said, CeeDee Lamb is going to have to get more touches, 12 to 15 with this contract. Dak Prescott, it's going to be all on him. We literally ended up going through, if you think about this, he was getting 10 touches a game the year before, and he breaks all of the Cowboys' receiving records. So now you want to put 2 to 5 more touches on top of it and think that that's going to be a winning formula? If he was able to do that, we're talking about having a 2,600-yard season with about 200 receptions. It's not even possible. So, yes, you're right. The front office dictates a lot of what happens on the field. CeeDee Lamb got paid, we're going to CeeDee Lamb. We used him at least 2 or 3 times every game running the football. I don't want to see my receiver, $34 million receiver running the football. And we refused to really run the football until Dak Prescott was injured. That's when we finally found out, Rico can actually run the football. When we were just dicking around and saying, we'll run the ball 15, 20 times a game, but we're going to win with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. And that's the problem for any coach.
Last two here. Leslie Frazier, who's up in Seattle, and Ben Johnson, who's the OC in Detroit. Those two guys, you think they have a puncher's shot at being the head coach of the Cowboys?
Leslie Frazier is this cycle's Marvin Lewis. Before they hired Mike McCarthy, they brought in Marvin Lewis.
He's the black guy.
Yeah, he's the Rooney Rule, unfortunately.
Okay. Right. Completely unfortunate.
Do you really think the Cowboys are going to hire him for head coach as long as it's been since he's been a head coach?
No.
Sorry, that's not going to happen.
He's the sacrificial black dude to coach an interview so that you could say you interviewed a black guy.
Technically, Saleh actually qualifies as well as one of those candidates for head coach. But see, this is where, again, I think it's actually for defensive coordinator because you have to interview them for a head coach.
Remember, that's right. You can't do lateral moves.
Right. So I think he's actually going to be looked at.
I got what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you bring someone in that you're going to say is going to be a head coach.
We've already done that. We're actually going to interview him for offense.
I got it. You can go down that route. You can go down that route. I got you. I got it. I mean,
it doesn't make any other sense because nobody is hiring, Leslie right now as a head coach.
No.
And that's the only thing that possibly makes sense to me. As far as Ben Johnson,
I like Brian Flores though. I'm a Brian Flores guy, man. I like him a lot.
Here's the thing about Brian Flores. He got a raw deal in Miami because you think about how what he did with that team, and they weren't building a team. The problem with Brian Flores is he basically told ownership, "Fuck you, I'm not going to tank." And kept on getting those guys together. And he had turned that team around that started off poorly and almost made the playoffs. And he's got the lawsuit. So I'm not sure a belligerent coach that's going to go ahead and fight Jerry Jones is going to fit. As far as Ben Johnson goes, Ben Johnson is going to want a lot more money than what Jerry Jones wants to pay. And Ben Johnson kind of sent them a message that if you're going to be – I want a team – that's going to work hand in hand with the coach. And I want an organization to admit the mistakes that they made in the past. That ain't happening.
And at $18 million a year.
Yeah, that ain't happening. You can forget
it. Yeah, absolutely. I'll make the point to you. The head coaching job in South Bend is a better job than the job in Dallas because you don't have to answer to anybody.
Exactly.
You're making $10 million a year. Mm-hmm. You got a high-profile job. And my last question to you, Mark, what side of the aisle are you on with my friends? Michael Irvin's side, that you think it's a good job? Or are you on the side where Troy Aikman says, this is not a good job. Man. This is not a plan.
You're only going to – honestly, if I'm worried about trying to win a Super Bowl and building a team and making my legacy like, say, a Joe Gibbs, you're not coming here. You have to deal with the Joneses that are going to be front and center. When the game is over – I don't want the owner and the son answering the questions of what's going on with the team and the injuries and everything else and putting out this narrative. I don't want to be hamstrung and be told, you're going to have to do more with less. I want to build something in my hands. I am a creator. This is what I want to do and put out here. And if you can't get the pieces that you need and work hand in hand with the front office and you're going to take less money than most jobs, why would I want to come there? Just for the publicity? No.
Mark, do you think the Dallas Cowboys are a place that free agents covet to want to go play?
The sad part about it is we actually have a lot that do want to come here, but we have the cheap Joneses that don't. Bobby Wagner wanted to come here with Dan Quinn.
Derrick Henry.
Okay. Von Miller wanted to come
Henry
here.
wanted to come.
Okay. DeAndre Hopkins wanted to come here. And like you said, Derrick Henry. But it's always, we believe in our own guys. We believe in our own guys until they need to get paid. Because guys like Osa and Digazua, and I'm afraid actually Rico are going to be too expensive. They're going to say we're not going to keep those guys. But that's the organization.
Okay, I could not let you out of here without a couple comments on the Eagles.
Okay.
What do you think of the Eagles' chances on winning the Super Bowl, and how much would that make you fucking throw up if the Eagles are in New Orleans and they win the Super Bowl?
If they're in the Super Bowl in New Orleans, I may just have to shut down my channel, bro. It's hard enough that right now I'm becoming like the cream spot in an Oreo cookie because I got Commander fans on one side and I got Eagle fans in another.
Wait,
and they're
I thought it was
me.
Philly 500 here and me on the other side. And
You guys
we
are on
have
the same side, man.
We have the inside out. We have the chocolate Oreo cookie.
Bro, it is so bad that I had a Commander fan on a live stream Zoom call, and we got mooned by his ass, okay? It's just gotten raw. Bro, if either of you two teams go to the Super Bowl, it's going to be absolute hell. And quite frankly, I think the Eagles with Kellen Moore winning, and then Dan Quinn finding a way to win on Sunday literally pissed off Jerry Jones to the point where Mike McCarthy was the dog to kick.
So wait, you're predicting you think the Commanders are going to play the Eagles?
No, I didn't say that. No. I said
okay.
Because both of them won.
Okay.
That had to drive Jerry Jones crazy.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's when the shit hit the fan.
Okay,
Those two guys winning.
Who wins in the NFC title game? I'm assuming you got Lions and Eagles.
Everybody's got Lions and Eagles. Okay. I should say the Eagles because it seems like I'm the jinx. So if I say Eagles, they've got no shot in hell. It should be a good game. But the thing about the Lions that surprised me is they have been so beat up on their defense. To see them play this past week, the reason why I don't want Kellen Moore is the players emulate the coach. You know how Jimmy Johnson was? Those players were loose, they were arrogant, and they backed their shit up, just like Jimmy. And I see Kellen Moore, and it's kind of like, You know, that's where I'd actually like a Brian Flores actually better. If you had to tell me, say, take Brian Flores or Kellen Moore, I take Brian Flores because I think he could relate to firing up guys to run through a brick wall.
I could just see Dion being the head.
Oh, now Dion, that alpha dog there. If he were actually able to be the coach and pick the groceries, it might be interesting, bro.
Could you imagine Skeletor and Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders working together in front of who would hog the mic more?
No, the bigger question is where would you put all the money? Do you know how big game days would be for the Cowboys with prime time on the sideline? See, that's what Jerry Jones doesn't understand. He wants to control and all that. Bro, you put Dion in there, Dion is going to be the show that you want. You don't need freaking mariachi bands and the big screen. You've got prime time on the sideline there doing the show for you. You understand what I'm saying? If you want to make money, you print money.
You understand this is what drives Eagle fans crazy is that
they
could win the Super Bowl. Yeah. Wait a minute. That you could win the Super Bowl and that Jerry and Dion would suck up the entire oxygen in the room.
And that's exactly what the Cowboys
This is why they hate the Cowboys.
And for the fans right now, I'm sorry. Right now, fans have checked out. Fans are like Dumb and Dumber. That's Jerry and Steven on there, okay? But fans have checked out. They need something big to get them back on the bandwagon and believing. Right now,
well, then hire John Gruden.
That's another one that would bring excitement. I'm not sure if that'll bring the wins or not. But then again, with John Gruden, it seems like the problem with John Gruden is he's not a great builder of talent. You give him the pieces, he works great with them. He screwed up the Raiders.
That's what the Cowboys do, though, Mark. Yeah. They want to give you the talent, and he'll go forward. Mark, I got to get out of here,
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah, wait a minute. I thought you were a wuss yesterday, but you didn't see the
man. It was so much shit going on. My head was on.
No. I get it. So, hey, next week, man, we'll get you on next week because I'm sure this story's not going to die here with Kellen Moore.
Oh, no. Jerry's going to milk it. He's going to milk the hell out of this thing.
Man. I appreciate it. Brother, I'll catch you next week. Make sure, guys, you check him out with our great friends at BetUS as well. Mark, we'll catch you next week, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Peace out, buddy.
You got it. That is our good friend, Mark Holmes. And again, make sure you check him out there. So again, the storyline going on there with the Cowboys. Kellen Moore is in the conversation. As we told you, we talked to Steven this morning here. Do not forget also, by the way, Mark is also with his channel hooked up with our friends at BetUS.
There you go.
And during this time, we implore you to also check out during this playoff time our friends at BetUS with the YouTube 150. Great opportunity for you to get sign-up bonuses up to 2K. Your second and third are 125%. And if you're into crypto, you can get from 200% all the way up to 2K. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. The home of Michael Vick. 24/7 personalized service, 365. Live wagering on all major games, fastest payouts in the business. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sil sent you.
There you go.
If you missed.
All right, so good people. So people are saying that I have a portrait of Jerry and Stephen Jones here. Actually, this is one of my new shirts here. Okay, here take a look at it. Boom. Oh, wrong way. Boom. You like that? You like that? Yeah, that's the way we roll here at Jobu Sports Report. We're just trying to keep up with the news of what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys and the many, many, many different legs that are rolling with this whole situation. So we're going to keep up with everything. As soon as we hear anything, we will do the best we can to get you up to speed. Make sure you hit the like button because I've got, we got 56 over here. We got 250 over there. Hit the like button for us so that way we can continue to grow and bring you guys the latest news on the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm tired, boss. I'm real tired, man, just trying to keep up with the Joneses, man. It's getting kind of crazy in here, but we're going to go ahead and get ready to get out of here. And remember, rest in peace, Bob Uecker, man. Oh, incredible guy. Let's go back to Mr. Squirrel Brains.
I've eaten a lot of raccoon. Yes, the answer is yes. And I've eaten it hunting. I've actually had it served by my mom at the table away from hunting. And I have eaten raccoon. And yes, it's not uncommon at all. I'll tell you something that is one of my favorites is squirrel. And it's wonderful, and my mother could do a great job of it. And we all had our favorite pieces, and my dad and sister, I have one sibling, a sister, and they would fight over, not fight, but my mom and I, they were just, my sister and I as far as siblings, my mom and I wouldn't even ask for the brain in a squirrel.
Oh, man. Oh.
And delicious, seriously.
Delicious.